A Celtic prayer goes as follows. I arise today through the strength of heaven, the light of the sun, splendor of fire, speed of lightning, swiftness of wind, depth of sea, stability of earth, firmness of rock. I arise today through God's strength to pilot me, God's might to uphold me, God's wisdom to guide me, God's eye to look before me, God's ear to hear me, God's word to speak for me, God's hand to guard me, God's way to lie before me, God's shield to protect me, God's host to save me, near and far, alone or in a multitude. Process theology and Celtic wisdom share much in common. They both see life as an adventure. According to some stories, the early Celtic adventurers set off across the high seas in little boats called coracles. They went out without a rudder, just following the waves, letting the waves push them to what they called the place of resurrection, the place where God called them to be. We don't travel on coracles, and certainly most of us have plans and schedules for the day and believe that our agency is paramount. Yet each day is an adventure, and each day can be a holy adventure. The world in which we live is a world of tragic beauty, a world of great pain, of wars and refugees, of hunger and economic injustice and racism and climate change, not to mention the challenges of our own relationships. Yet this world is also a place of wonder, a place, as Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel says, of radical amazement. Amazement at the sheer fact of being, the holiness of life, the wonder of being. Both the Celts and process theologians see life as a holy adventure in which there are thin places everywhere. In Celtic wisdom, a thin place is a place that's transparent to the divine, a place where God is present in a unique and special way. And certainly there are places that are set apart as thin places, as unique spots. The place where Jacob woke up at Bethel and said, God is in this place and I did not know it, and then discovers it's the gateway to heaven. Perhaps it's Taos or Sedona or the Tor of Glastonbury or Iona or Lindisfarne. But there are thin places everywhere. The prophet Isaiah goes to the temple and encounters the Holy One and says, listening to the angels singing, the whole earth is filled with God's glory. And then he reports it in his further oracles to the people. God's glory is everywhere. We just need to wake up to it. We live in a world of tragic beauty. We have dreams and yet pain. We have hopes and yet despair. And yet God is with us, guiding our pathway, watching our steps and giving us insights and possibilities and inspirations appropriate to each moment of experience. There are thin places everywhere on this holy adventure of life. Process theology and Celtic wisdom invite us to look for the holiness, to bring forth the holiness, to see the holiness in the least of these and the most difficult people. And then join God as a companion in healing the world and making it possible for others to see thin places everywhere.